Hi everyone, happy Tuesday. I wanted to make a quick note and say, I realized I had said I would post something this weekend like I usually do, and I did not. And, well, of course, I want to apologize for it, but I don't need to apologize for it. I had a fibro flare and an allergy flare on Friday and Saturday, and then Saturday and Sunday, I was just exhausted. Um, I've been trying to walk some the past few weeks, get out and walk at least 2 or 3 days a week. And that, and just a lot of mental stuff lately. I'm exhausted. And I just didn't have it in me, just really had no desire to color this weekend. I did want to do this video, however, because I know a lot of you are interested in the Panpastels, and I would like to do this one so that I can do a full roundup video of the 4 different types of pastels that I've tried. But just wanted to let y'all know that's all it was, and I'm going to see how this week goes. If I'm still just not really feeling much up to coloring, April, I still plan to do the color along, and I still plan to color some. It might be a quieter month than usual. I don't know if I will go completely quiet for the month. It's actually been a while since I've done that. Usually it's every 2 or 3 months, and I've actually went more like, I think September was the last month that happened. So, um, I may not back off entirely. I just may not post as many videos in April, and just kind of try to rest up. And I don't want to just completely stop walking and doing all that stuff. So I want to see if I can get myself back mentally and physically, back from the level of exhaustion I have now. But anyway, just wanted to tell you guys that's kind of what's going on. Still plan to do my completed pages Friday, because whatever I'm going to have done is going to be done at that point. So, all right. So we have been kind of on a journey through different types of pastels. We've tried Jane Davenport, we've tried Pastel Pencils by Derwent, we've tried Pebbles Chalk, and this week I'm going to round out with the final type of pastels that I have, which are the Panpastels. And we've also been using them in Amazon Books. I've been featuring Alexandra Franzese's books all month because they've worked really well with my color along for the month, and also gives us really good consistency to compare between the types of pastel. So these are the Panpastels I have. They are the portrait set. I ordered these probably the very first summer I started coloring because I thought I was going to use them a lot, and I just haven't. I've barely used them, barely touched them. It's been like 3 years. I will say the nice thing about pastels is they're one of those things you can buy, and they keep well over time as long as they're in a climate controlled environment. They seem like they keep really well. They haven't faded or anything like that. So give them points for that. And it's a set of 20, and it is. Panpastels are pretty expensive. I'm sure they always have been, but to me they feel like even more so lately. I did just buy this plastic holder for them, because now I can just take the lid off and have access to all of them. I don't have to screw and unscrew all the little lids, and it's just really annoying. I think that's one of the reasons I haven't used them much. But these are AP certified, I believe, so they don't have any, even with the different colors they have, they don't have any sort of even minuscule amounts of toxic materials in their pastels. So these I feel really safe using with the kitties and myself. So this picture is going to be interesting because this is a portrait set, and there are some nice colors that I'm going to use some of it for. That's the reason I picked a book with a chibi in it, so that I can use it for her face and hair and stuff. But I also want to use it for the entire page. So I'm used to bold, bright colors, so picking out the colors for this was pretty interesting. It may look a little different than what I normally would do, but shoot, I just realized I'm missing a marker. I'm going to have to go, let me pause this for a second. Okay, there we go. Now I realized I did not get my turquoise marker that I needed for this. So if you haven't watched one of my demo videos yet this month, the way I'm using these is I'm overlaying them on a marker and then also using them in the background. And like I said, this one I had to really think hard about what colors to use and how to use this, because this is more of a portrait set. If I probably would go more with like a basic color set or something if I was using it for a picture like this, but this is a nice challenge. Just lets me use what I already have, and until I really try these and figure out how much I like them, I don't know how much I want to invest in pan pastels just yet. This may be all I ever want. So anyway, those are the pastels, and of course I have learned over time you want to go with a really light marker base. This is the picture we're going to do, and we also have a little pink. I'm going to make the sheep pink and the little wool. I'm going to make all that pink because I just want a pink sheep. So these are the colors I've kind of grabbed to use. This one, like I said, was a little harder to pull the colors I needed. Like I said, you want to go with as light a color as you can get as the base so that the shading on top really stands out. And so I struggle a little bit, obviously, with those lighter colors. So we may not be using as many of those. But yeah. This is a combination of Copic, Ohuhu Pastel, Colors, Weisbrandt, an Arteza, a Tau Tree. I think that's it. So I'm not going to show the part where I actually color. I'm just showing you the before picture. I'm going to color this in, probably outline with the light purple like I have the last 2 or 3 pictures because I really like that look. We're going to come back and then we're going to start shading with the pastel. Alright, so here is our filled in marker picture. Looks cute in of itself. At first I was a little iffy about the colors that I had to go with, but honestly they actually turned out pretty nice. I wish I had been able to use a couple more lighter colors, but it's just really hard for like this yellow ochre and some of these lighter colors over here to find something that's even lighter than this so it would actually show up. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with what I went with. So one thing I can tell you guys right off the bat, as much as I like having this pan so that they're all accessible, it does make having to grab from it a little difficult, and I'm probably going to get this all over my hands, so I guess it's a really good thing. I don't have to worry about any sort of toxicity with it. We're probably going to start off using my 2 favorite tools so far with pastels, which is these little makeup brushes here. Oop. That one actually still had a little bit of another color on it. I thought I'd washed that. And then the little eyeshadow like applicators that are the Soffit brand, I believe. I think that's right. So I mostly like the bigger tools for bigger areas like the backgrounds, and then I'll use the eyeshadow applicators probably for the picture itself. Alright, so we're going to start with the background, and I'm going to put on my little glove. I do this to try to minimize any pastel smearing, and so far, I mean, I haven't had it happen too much. Oh, let me get my thing. I put a cutting mat underneath it as well to try to catch any extra pastel dust. But I don't know how much this generates, so we will see. Alright, so I'm going to take this really light lavender type color. It says violet tint. Violet tint, and I used a periwinkle Arteza marker on the outside, so to kind of outline. So I'm going to pull off of this with the brush, and we're gonna just start to see what it does. Probably gonna go ahead and fill in the whole background with this. Oh wow. So I was talking about the Pebbles chalk pastels last week and how they are definitely a drier pastel, so I was having to constantly rub on the pastel to get color, and this is like the complete opposite. I rubbed on the palette a fair amount, but like it's definitely going a lot farther than the other pastel. I think any of the other pastels, to be honest. Which, given the price, I like what I'm seeing. So, that's a good thing, obviously. Maybe more expensive, but you're using up a lot less of it as you go along. If it lasts longer, it might make more sense as a purchase in the long run if you're using pastels a lot. One thing I am noticing is it's definitely, because of the amount of pastel it is, dulling the line art a little bit, so I will have to come in with my eraser, and if I really want to make sure it gets good coverage and really gets in there, and I'm lazy and I don't want to grab a smaller brush, I'll definitely have to come in with my eraser after I get the background done. But like I said, this is in terms of, you know, if I've said before, I'm more of an efficient kind of person, and if I can make a little bit of pastel go a long way without having to go back and forth between the palette and the tool, then I like that very much. So there you go. Pretty nice. Now I am going to have to come in here with an eraser. I might show y'all a little bit of that, and then we will jump to using the applicators on the picture itself. We'll see, I guess, is curious how it erases. Okay. Alright. It erases very well. Having no issue whatsoever with it coming up. Erases very easily. Now I could have used a smaller brush in the smaller areas and probably limited how much it actually got over onto the image, but like I said, I was feeling lazy. This is where I need that makeup brush. There it is. So I could probably avoid it doing this, but plus having this little outline of the darker background color is nice because I don't have to be super precise about these lines and run the risk of erasing the edge of the pastel. Yeah, I think you can actually see where it got a little right there. I think instead of creating like a big background in like my jungle miniatures, my Camellia Angel Cova books, I think I'm gonna start doing this kind of outline and then maybe using pastels sometimes for the background, because it gives me at least a hint of a background, but it's obviously not as labor intensive or difficult or uses up my markers like, you know, creating even a small edging of a background would be. So yeah, it took no time at all. And we are good to go. Excellent. Alright, eyeshadow applicators. So after seeing how the background has done me, I think we are going to go real easy on loading up these applicators until I get used to how much to put on these. Alright, so start at the top here. I'm going to grab this. It's kind of, what's the actual color called? It's like, looks like kind of a steel blue gray. It says Payne's gray. Kind of a blue gray. I used a blue gray as the base here. Yeah. This eyeshadow brush might be just too big for this area, and I might need to grab a Q-tip. Alright, I went ahead and got those too. Yeah. Yeah, this is small enough area that, and I'm pretty okay with gently blowing the pastel off this one. Like I said, it's a with the safety levels of these pastels, I'm not as concerned about these as I would be others. And of course the dust is still hopefully congregating on this mat, if there is any. So wow, I'm sitting here looking at it and I'm like, that looks really dark, and then I looked at the camera and I'm like, boy, it is crazy sometimes how different it looks to y'all compared to me, because I see it and I'm like, wow, that's really, you know, that's really dark, and then I look on the camera and I'm like, no, actually it doesn't look, y'all can't hardly see it. So I'm being a little more cavalier about this, and I'll show you guys why here in a minute. Because I'm just going to come in with this Tombow mono eraser, just because it's such a small spot. And I'm going to go down the middle here and erase what I don't want. And kind of create a highlight, if you will. And hopefully I can do that without disturbing the pastel too much. Yep. Yep. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Now, let us try the turquoise bows. And I will try my eyeshadow brush again. Oops. Might have went a little too dark on the base color. That's a shame. I bet this is going to turn into a Q-tip one. It just seems like there's so many little spaces. So maybe I can add a little bit of this dark steely blue color to it as well to darken it up. This set does have a gray, has a couple grays. This is technically a gray because it's a Payne's gray. So I am happy about that, though it does not have a black, which is a little surprising, but I guess as a portrait set, then that may be why. Where did I put my eraser? So these definitely give me a lot more pastel in when I put them down, and thus I'm covering more of the area than I really want to. And it does dull that line art some too. Not a huge fan of that. However, using the mono eraser, it is quite easy to go over those sections and bring them back out. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to hit the camera there. Alright, so I'm going to come in with that dark Payne's gray first, then come in with the turquoise green over the top. And that should give us the dark color I'm looking for here. It is quite smooth. It, like I said, it goes down very easily. All you gotta do is basically dab it, and you will, like, if this is how I'm using it and I'm not really using it for much else, this will last me forever. So like I said, in terms of, they're expensive, but they give you a lot of pastel for what you're buying. Alright. So yeah, I think we're going to swap the Q-tips just because there's so much pastel getting on these tools, and so far the eyeshadow brushes are just, I feel like putting too much down. And so, alright, we're going to try this bright cherry red color. This should be interesting. I mean, I very lightly touched the top of that pastel, and this is how much I got off of it. Like I said, that can be a bit of a problem if you are just looking for like a subtle shading. This gives me a lot more pastel. You have to just get really used to how much pastel it's giving you. So basically I applied it. Now I'm going back over with the other side of the Q-tip and kind of rubbing it out a little bit to blend it just a bit more. There. That is some wild hair color. That's cool though. It's cool. It's different. I do like doing different colors. It's one of the reasons I tend to not color people very often is I feel like I get so bored quick of typical people colors and hair colors. And I always want to do something different. That's why if you see me, well, I'm going to switch to the other side here. That's why if you see me with a person in my picture, usually it's a fantasy picture, and then I feel like then I can color it whatever color, the person whatever color I want to. I should feel that way about any of the people I color, but sometimes your brain versus like, the logical side of you that's like, well, this is my coloring. I can color these people however I want, versus just that logical, that weird subconscious part of you that's like, this should be this color, that should be this color always, and it should never be different. Sometimes those go to war with each other when you are coloring. So yeah, due to the amounts I'm getting of this pastel here, I'm finding the Q-tips are giving me the most control at this point. However, if it was a larger area to shade, like a background, or if you were using pastel in, a painting, like a pastel portrait or something, you might want to use other tools in larger areas. But I'm getting so much pastel when I dab onto the palette that using just the Q-tip to kind of outline it, brush it off, then use a clean side to go back over it to kind of just rub it and dissipate it a little bit and blend it out. Seems to give me the look that I'm going for. Well, I mean, let's be honest, I don't really know what I'm doing. I have an idea, and I try the idea, and I'm like, okay, this looks good. So it looks good with what I'm trying to do here. That's basically, there's no real plan. I mean, let's be real here. All right, and so what I will probably do at the end is go over Like I said, the one downside I'm seeing is that this does like to dull the line art. However, I think this is the easiest any of the pastels I've tried erase. I mean, I barely have to go over it and it clears it out for me. So going back in and just really like bold black lines in the art. I know some people try to cover those up, and it looks really cool when they do, and I'm sure somewhere down the line I will try that myself just as a challenge to see how I like it. But usually with these types of pictures, I really love the lines. So, oh, sorry, needed a moment. All right, which one did I pick? I think it was this one. I think it was this one. Well, this may not be, this may be too subtle. I may have to go with slightly darker brown. Oh, no, you can see it. Yeah, the faces are another area where I always, oh goodness, that pastel went over it so much that it just completely took out the line art part. Whoops. Whoopsie. Whoopsie doodle. Alright. Yeah. Can't really, I wish I had had just a lighter brown for that. Alright, let's try. What color was that? That was burnt sienna. Oh. Use this one at the top. Red on the side. Let's just see. And this is where you guys get to see me mess around with different ones. And this happens sometimes. The colors you picked don't quite work the way you had planned, so you gotta try some different stuff. Okay, I think that'll work. We will go with the raw umber shade. I thought it might be too yellowy brown, but it actually seems to work pretty well. So. See, I've been coloring for close to 4 years, and while a lot of times I don't focus a lot on things like, color theory and undertones and things like that, I have picked up a little bit over time, but I still get surprised. I still get surprised by things that I think won't work, and then they do. And then some things I think will work, and they don't. Still happens. I am definitely no expert in that area. There. Yeah, that turned out actually pretty nice. And I will come back, like I said, and may erase a little bit more in on the inside just to create a little more of the shading. We'll just kind of see how it goes. And let's go ahead and get her arms and hands. Definitely going to have to go in there and clean out erase the white outlines of her dress. Y'all probably missed the part where I got her legs, but that's okay. Alright. So, y'all have seen me color some of this. What I think I'm going to do is go ahead and speed it up because we're at about the 30-minute mark. And you guys can see me finish it up, and at the end we'll look at the picture and have final thoughts as usual. So let me back up the camera here and let's get started. All right, so we are wrapping this up. Here is the completed picture. My pink definitely wasn't as light as it should be, but I don't know. I wanted to do something fun with the wool, so I haven't been using gel pens on any of the other pictures, but I just thought, like, I don't know. To me, I just needed pink sparkly wool and a pink sparkly sheep. I felt like that was just needed for this picture. So I I'm conflicted. Sorry, I'm conflicted about these Panpastels. So, like, in terms of covering large areas, like this background, they are, I by far, I think, the best thing in the world. So if you're covering large areas with pastels, if you're using them as a layer and then coming back in with like pastel pencils for detail work or something, um, I think that's where they shine the best for me. Um, but when it came to the detail, like, I tried very hard to limit how much I was pulling off that palette, but it still seemed like I was pulling a lot. And so, which really isn't a problem except for the fact that I had to come in, and you guys saw I had to do a lot of erasing and cleanup. These do smear pretty easily, so I've been having to come in and do some cleanup because of that. Um, and some of it is the colors I had. While I had some colors enough that I could put together in this picture, this really is more of a portrait style palette, so this is probably more useful for things like skin tones, natural skin tones. So like, if I do more pictures down the road with like a big face and hair or something, like more portrait styles, I would definitely use these more for skin tone than probably anything else other than the pastel pencils. But they were just really, or like I said, for backgrounds, I think they do great, but I feel like they're just really hard to control in small spaces. And while most people don't use pastel to do shading in small areas, I've grown to love doing that during this whole pastel experience. So it feels like there's a whole lot of extra steps while it covers more area than, say, like the Pebbles chalk pastel, which was drier and I had to use more to get the shade I wanted. I felt like I still had more control over that. This, I very easily, even with Q-tips, would dull the line art because it would go into the line art, and then I'd have to go over and erase, and then you gotta try to get the eraser bits off without smearing the pastel, which I managed to do and had to kind of come and try to fix that, and it didn't fix it very well. So these felt like I had to be careful with them more, and they worked well, but I didn't feel like I had a lot of control with them. So I don't know if I will invest in any more pan pastels. I'm not 100% sure what I will do with the ones I have right now. I'm going to hold on to them, see where maybe I can find to use them, and if not, then I might find them a home. I don't know, but um, they're definitely not my favorite thing to use, and they're like the opposite problem of the Pebbles chalk, where they are very well saturated, very not dry at all, and a little bit goes a long way. So I feel like they're worth the money. It's just for how I use the pastels. Um, it's a lot of work for me to keep them from smearing or dulling the line art when I'm working in small spaces. So they may not be the most useful for that. They may be more useful for things like backgrounds, and like I said, where you have a portrait where your face is taking up the majority of the page, and you're using them as a portrait set to genuinely work on that. I feel like they're probably a little overpriced for how I use pastels, so I will probably be better served with using pastel. What I'm thinking, and this is what I'll say in my summary video whenever that comes out, is I think from all this, the majority of pastels I use will be the pastel pencils with some of the Jane Davenports mixed in, just because those bring some unique colors to the table. The Pebbles chalk and the Panpastels, I will probably stick to mostly background work with those, just because I run into issues when I try to shade like I did here. However, this still turned out to be a cute picture, and I'm glad I tried them. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, how you use Panpastels if you have them. And yeah, like I said, I will do a summary video. I'll have to check my schedule, where I talk about all the 4 different types of pastels that I used this month, and we'll cover, you know, how I feel like they all did, what I learned, and you know, maybe this will be helpful to other people when trying to decide if you want to use pastels and how you want to use them. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.